I'm sorry, but I have some bad news for you today. Your HIV test results came back positive.
You want love, but you fear it. Your attention been shifting. You summed up the feeling with a simple dismissing. What you gonna do this evening? It ain't you, believe it. 'Cause our love ain't easy. Changes the season. Yeah, where we're going, I
You have to get consent, date, signature, print your name.
Okay.
I tell everybody on the count of 3, 1. I do it on 1. See how fast that was? In 15 minutes, we will know.
The day that I was told, I went to the health department, of course, got the rapid test done. The waiting process, as far as waiting 20 minutes for me to get to my results, it was very nerve-wracking, very nerve-wracking.
It's obviously going to be negative, and I'm just panicking for no reason. I'm being hypochondriac.
I get called back. I sit down in the room and
I'm beating myself up for worrying so much, and then her saying,
they reacted.
what?
I never can predict how someone's going to react.
I was very confused.
I kind of went into like a tunnel. Everybody was talking to me, but it was very hazy. I guess I went into shock or something.
Most people, when they become HIV positive and they're told, go into a state of shock.
This isn't really happening. I can't believe this is happening.
I don't want to look like I have HIV.
Oh my God, is my face gonna like waste away, or am I gonna get like a hump on my back?
Who is going to love me now is one of the common things I hear. Am I going to die?
I remember walking back being like, okay, like, oh, this is my reality, and what am I gonna do about it? Maybe I should just drop out of school and go traveling. Really fucked up thoughts.
Oh my God, my parents, I can't tell them, they won't understand. I can't tell my friends. My friends are gonna think how stupid you were. What did you do?
When somebody gets diagnosed with something that's so life-changing, they have to almost go back and reestablish who they are. So it's like a rewinding of life.
Not going on HIV meds, I've tried to do a lot of things to keep myself healthy. Exercise, I take homeopathic medicines. I try and reduce stress in my life. A big stress was not having disclosed to my family, so getting that out in the open was a big weight off my shoulders. I'm really close with my family. I feel really lucky that I have really supportive parents, and my sister Niki, who's 3 years older than me.
We went to Havana's, which is a restaurant, having a pitcher of mojitos. And Jesse got quiet and kind of serious all of a sudden and said that he had to tell me something. And I could tell that it was really, really hard for him. But the more I looked at him, the more I could see that it was making it hard for him to say whatever it is he needed to say. So I made a conscious choice to look down. And the moment I looked down, he came out with, "I'm gay." And the first thing out of my mouth was, "I know."
When I came out as being gay to my mom, she was like, just don't get HIV. This is something she said like right after I came out. I think it was like an Oprah episode or something. It was like a television show and people were talking about like, oh, I'm getting like tested. And I just kind of thought about it and I was like, oh, I'd never been tested. I was 20 and I had just moved out of the house into student residence. All the guys I was with, I trusted, and I guess you sort of think, oh, these things like could never happen to me.
For most people, I think it becomes initially, I can't tell anybody. I'm going to keep this a secret.
When's a great time to say something? Oh no, it's too close to Christmas, I don't want to do that, or it's too close to my mom's birthday. Just excuses for not having to do something that's difficult. Coming out that you're gay, and then also I've come out to my parents that I'm HIV positive. That was like so much worse. That thinking about coming out as gay was like, oh, walk in the park.
I think the biggest thing that affects people is the stigma of what HIV was like back at the peak of the epidemic.
HIV equals AIDS and AIDS equals death. That's the paradigm that still exists, and I mean, my parents thought that too.
The difference between HIV and AIDS is that HIV is the virus itself. When you become positive, that means you've been infected with HIV. But just because you have HIV chronically doesn't mean you're going to have AIDS.
I told my parents about 2 years after I found out. At that point, I had enough pieces of education to let them know that, you know, this isn't a death sentence.
By the time you're ready to tell people, you've thought it through how it affects your identity. You've even maybe gained a little bit of strength and readiness.
Hiding things is so toxic, and to not be open about that, it's my life, and I want to share my life with my family.
Think about how it felt to be diagnosed, being buried in information and having your life change so drastically. Keep that in mind when you're telling people that you trust and that you love and who love you, that that's what it's like for them the first time they get told of your status.
And then he told me he was positive. Yeah.
It's very hard for, I think, the general public to grasp that this is now a chronic disease. The likelihood of dying from HIV is much smaller. You're probably going to die from what everybody's going to die from, which is heart disease.
People are no longer dying of HIV. It is a manageable condition. It's also something you don't want to get.
I feel really lucky that I have a sister who I can go party with and who's totally accepting of me and being gay and all those kinds of things.
I think I'm most afraid of him getting sick. I'm afraid that he won't meet someone who will accept that, and that'll always be an issue. Even though it actually hasn't been.
I met Spencer actually through an online dating website. We met up for a date and hit it off.
We started dating and then got in a relationship.
Having to disclose to people who I'm dating has probably been the hardest thing, because you never know where someone's education level about it is at.
My education on HIV was, I'd say as much as anyone. I think it was our second or third date. He said he had a heavy for me.
I have to say this thing, I have to say this thing, I have to say this thing. And I told him.
And it was a shock.
Seeing his reaction of like, oh, like, it's big news, but being totally okay with it, the sense of relief.
At first, it was always kind of in the back of my mind, not for my own concern, because I know if you just take the right steps and you are careful, the risk is almost non-existent.
Being in a relationship where I'm positive and he's negative kind of complicates things. Condom use and then the snap thought process of, oh, we have to use a condom, what does that mean? It means I'm positive, means that he has to protect himself against me, means that
it must be different to feel like you're responsible for this and you are the one who could potentially hurt someone who you care about.
We do know that if someone is HIV positive, but they are on therapy and their virus is completely suppressed, almost undetectable, the risk of transmission is much, much lower.
Knowing that could maybe reduce that fear because it would bring my viral load down to undetectable levels, which means that I would be non-infectious, but then not feeling at a place in my life where I can go on that medication. It became a bit stressful for me.
When someone means that much to you, it doesn't just end, it still goes from there. Jesse's a person that I've loved for a long time and will always love, as are those people in your life who really matter.
This is my morning routine. I'm out looking for work. I've been looking everywhere that I can look. Shopping plazas, retail stores, anything that I can find. I've even been to the labor pool, and that lets you know how bad the economy is. I went to the labor pool, and they've even told me that there's no work. But life hands you lemons, you have to make lemonade. I want a job. I've been looking, anything I can try to find, McDonald's, Burger King, everywhere I can think of. If I'm out and about, I'll apply. When I'm driving around, I'll apply. When I'm online, I'll apply. And I'm not finding shit. A year ago, lost my job with the agency that I was working for. Got evicted from my apartment. Car insurance was due, so I had to bite the bullet and go back home with mommy. Love her to death, but we just really don't see eye to eye. We really never have. Especially growing up in the African-American community as a black male, I had feminine characteristics to me growing up. So my mother saw it. And of course, growing up in that kind of environment, there's zero tolerance for it. It's a big no-no. Hell no, my son is not gay, not gonna happen, no. You know, I moved out when I was 17, dropped out of high school and left my mom's house. And swore I would never go back, but yet I'm back. I have no freedom when it comes to my house. I'm sleeping in my mother's living room on an air mattress. I'm living in a house where I'm not allowed to be myself.
68% of the AIDS cases of 13 to 29-year-olds in the United States are African American.
I was at an AIDS meeting. An African-American woman stood up and she said, "Don't judge me because I have HIV. I swim in a zip code full of HIV." She's dating a pool of men in her neighborhood who are HIV positive. The risk is higher. And she could have probably done everything right. And most people, I think, do everything right. They try to practice safe sex, but it happens.
Sometimes the heat of the moment or not simply knowing how to say, hey, I want to use a condom is often a challenge for some young people.
I dated another person that I knew for a while. We went on a couple of dates, we started talking, things got heated, got hot, got heavy, you know. I know the lifestyle that I was living at the time, you know what I mean? I wasn't being smart about my decisions, you know what I mean? I was loose, I mean, just be honest.
He who is without sin cast the first stone. Who has not had unprotected sex once in their life?
Around the time that I decided to go get my HIV test, and just noticed that my health was not 100%. I would notice that I was sick a lot, and dry blotches in my skin, swollen glands. Every day I would go to work. Next thing you know, I would be throwing up like at my desk, and I was throwing up and had like major diarrhea for like 2 weeks straight. So I figured something may be wrong, so I called my ex and said, you know, let's go get tested. I was 21 years old when I found out that I was HIV positive. You have to look at it and keep moving. As long as you do that, you'll be all right. If you look at this situation as it's gonna kill you, it most likely will, because stress is one of the main contributors to damaging your immune system. The main thing you wanna do when someone is positive is keep, you know, stress level down. But how can someone keep their stress level down that much when you're faced with so many problems that's not being fixed? No one has an answer. You know, the economy is so bad right now, you can barely find a job that you can hold on to that's paying you benefits. So how am I supposed to survive when things start to get bad? The only thing I have right now is prayer. And thank goodness that's working and I'm fine. I'm not currently on meds. It's been 3 years. My immune system is still strong. Woohoo. I'm very glad about that. What happens in the event that something does go wrong and my immune system can no longer fight the way it's supposed to? You know, being a person that doesn't have any income and I don't have a job, I don't have insurance, you know what I mean? Here in Florida, we have Medicaid. You can't even get Medicaid when you're HIV positive. It's damn near impossible. You have to be damn near dead, you know, with the AIDS status and sick and damn near dying. They say they want you to be at an AIDS diagnosis, which is a T-cell count lower than 200 with a opportunistic infection. I really don't understand why people should wait that long to receive some kind of assistance. Started singing at the age of 3. My grandmother put me in the choir at my church, and I fell in love with it. I used to sit on my mother's waterbed and watch music videos and just sing, sing, sing. Music is just me. It's who I am. I still have my faith. I still have my relationship with God. May not go to church every Sunday, but I still have my relationship. I don't see it as being in church, because being in church doesn't make you any more of a Christian than being in a garage makes you a Cadillac. Oh, yeah. When I found out, I went online and started researching. Really didn't see much, you know, besides these websites that'll just tell you the basis of what HIV was, but there was not a face or some kind of humanity that I could put with it. Have you guys ever taken the time just to thank the Lord for a beautiful day? Just say, thank you, Lord. Just thank you, Lord. Just be excited. So I decided to start making a YouTube video to educate, to talk about it, to bring it to light from a person who's actually going through it. That shows me as me. I'm peppy, I'm happy. If I'm down, I reflect that. I feel like I'm going through a midlife crisis at the age of 23. Not cute. I'm silly, I'm goofy, I tell it like it is.
I know y'all thinking, sugar, what the hell is a bug chaser?
But I'm targeting this right here towards the Black and Latino community.
He has his YouTube thing, he's out in the community, he's really talking to people about his experience.
Go and get yourself tested. If you don't know where your local testing station is, please message me on YouTube.
Me knowing that I'm helping someone with my story helps me to cope myself.
But then you have this same gentleman who can't even tell his mother that he's living with HIV.
Everyone that is in my life knows, except my mother. That is one person that I have not told yet, you know, because I feel like emotionally, she is not ready to hear it. She's not ready to hear it. If I were to tell her that, would bring the whole house down, I can tell you now.
There is a stigma in the African-American community, a huge stigma as far as HIV and AIDS is concerned. No one wants to talk about it. No one wants to identify with it.
People tend to want to believe the more we can separate ourselves from that person, the less chance it will happen to us. And it's a psychological phenomena that is very common.
My biggest fear is to be alone for the rest of my life. And my loneliness is really eating me alive. Do I need to give up on the hopes of having that old school relationship, you know, or finding the one? And I don't pride my whole life on finding somebody. Like, I felt alone. I've been a loner my entire life. So, you know, I want to have that companionship. I do actually hold hope that my mother and I will build a relationship one day. I don't see it happening nowhere in the near future, though. My mother's a stubborn woman. She is stubborn. But, you know, there's hope, though.
Austin is intense.
Captivating.
Bitchy.
Innovative. Flirtatious.
Painfully honest. That's why a lot of people don't like him.
I actually officially met Austin at a fetish event.
He walked up and he said, "I need to know you."
Been, best friends ever since. Austin appeals to both sexes.
When we go out drinking, he goes from 0 to 60 in about 5 seconds.
We were partying all night and wrestling.
He jumps out of the cab.
His car doesn't start.
Well, then all of a sudden these two cops come out of nowhere.
Get out of the car! Go, run!
I usually have to end up pulling his weave out and hitting him in the face with it until he wakes up.
Ran to the nearest street and hailed a taxi and, barely made our flight.
He's like the MacGyver of the gay world.
He had Christmas lights woven into his hairdo.
The persona of Austin Head, when he has all the regalia on, is quite different from the Austin Head we all get to live with.
Where do I start? Everyone thinks that my name is fake, but I was actually born with the name Austin Head. My father's name is Head. It's an English name. It means a man who resides on a hill. I've been working in the club scene since I was 17. I've always been a quiet person, but when I'm in my hair and everything and I've been drinking, the walls come down and it's easier to intermingle.
Austin Head, his looks so right, he'll probably take your boyfriend home tonight.
New infections are occurring more and more among a population that is using alcohol in significant ways and using drugs.
Just based on timing, I know how I became positive, when I became positive, and who it was from. When I was 18, someone I worked with and I decided to move to New York together. We found an apartment, and it was in this neighborhood I'd never heard of called Chelsea. I didn't realize it was the gay mecca of New York. Landed in Daytown.
In New York, if you lived in a highly gay populated part of town, like Chelsea, probably 1 in 2 gay men have HIV. This disease isn't what it used to be when I first started. If it was, I would be having conversations about how to postpone your life because it probably would end within a decade. And now that's just not true.
If you do test positive, it's not the end of your life. You're going to live, you're going to have a full life, but you're going to have health issues, and you're going to have health concerns that you're going to have to deal with for the rest of your life. Different medications for different people. Everyone thinks, oh, if I test HIV positive, I just take a pill. Well, it's not the same for everyone. People have to take different medications based upon the strain of HIV that they may have.
Remember that you and this disease state is unique to you. And you can't look at someone else and say, yeah, but he went on this drug and why didn't I? It's almost like your fingerprint. HIV in you is unique to you, and you and your doctor have developed a plan for you together.
I'm on a clinical trial with Spectrum Medical Group that is studying a new HIV medication.
I think most people think a clinical trial is being a guinea pig, and I think it has a negative connotation. You're not being given a drug that could possibly hurt you and that you're going to have to stay on it anyway. They're monitoring you every step of the way.
Breathe in and out. Are you experiencing any side effects from the medication?
Just some joint pain from time to time, and I have really lucid dreams recently. I had a dream about putting the 50 states into a machine gun, the shape of a machine gun. I thought it would be a neat wall piece or album cover or something.
Interesting.
In a clinical trial, it's obviously still experimental. They're still looking at what could happen, what are the side effects. But for some people, it's very important to be involved in a clinical trial. Not everyone has insurance. Not everyone has access to care. If you're involved in a clinical trial, you're being seen by a healthcare professional. You're having your blood tests paid for. They're being drawn routinely, and they're paying for the medication. And that's a lot for some people, particularly for this younger generation who become positive in their late teens or early 20s and they don't have health insurance.
Everything's covered on the clinical trial, and we only have, what, like 8 months left or something like that?
At the end of the trial, if this medication is still not approved, you have an option to stay on that medication until it is approved. Now, when it's approved, you're gonna have to find some way to cover that.
How much would it cost for me to pay for this medication out of pocket?
Probably like about $1,500 a month if you have to pay for it.
Oh, $1,500 a month. It's there and it's something I have to deal with, but it's not going to stop me from doing what I want and how I want to live. You could always die in a car crash.
I think that it's really important that people surround themselves with like-minded people.
I feel like the term fag hag is kind of outdated, and we've been trying to reinvent it and come up with a new word for it. And so far, what we've got is fruit fly.
I feel as though people who want to disclose their status have to choose when it's appropriate for them. Personally, I tell people when I feel like I can trust that they're not going to run around the club the same night and tell everybody in the club. Psst, hey, psst, hey. Hey, I heard Chris got AIDS. And your reputation suddenly becomes the guy that's positive.
Always, always, always start with the people you can trust when you're disclosing.
He told me it, and that was it. I mean, we're pretty, people who have been around the scene for a while are pretty used to it, so it's not something you really quickly judge.
It wasn't a earth-shattering confession or anything. It was just like, this is it, this is me, and that was that.
It didn't really faze me because I'd gotten to know him as a person and felt like he was Austin, not Austin with HIV. It's just Austin.
Summer camp for a week, everyone finds their fling and everyone has their crush. And I had met this boy. I really didn't think about the fact that he was positive. It really didn't run through my mind just because I have it vicariously through my mother.
Yeah. It's time to wake up. Okay. You want some eggs?
Yeah.
I'm a mom of 2 kids. I have a daughter who's 18, and her name is Rakiya.
I have a son who is 10 and his name is Owen. Rakiya's graduated this year and Owen's in grade 5.
You smell good. You didn't have a bath last night?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you did. I'm like his second mom. I've taken care of him when my mom couldn't. She was very anemic when my brother was first born, and all she would do was sleep. So I woke up in the middle of the night and took care of him. I started working at 15 years old, mainly so I could support my family.
The red man says stop and think about it. The white man
Let's
says go.
See, white man says go. I work at a retirement home. I really, really love it. It's like I have 90 grandparents.
Go to the office
Love
and
you.
make sure you sign in, okay? Really
Have a good day.
My daughter is 18, which is when I got tested and I found out.
Perfect day would be spending time with my mom, having it sunny, be able to write with her, not having to worry about money. The different life and the dysfunction that we've had has brought us closer together.
She was born about 4 years after I found out that I was positive. When I got pregnant, it was unplanned. I had 2 weeks to decide whether I was going to terminate. Because I was worried about passing the virus on, I didn't know what was going to happen. They said you have a 1 in 4 chance of passing your virus on to your baby. And then you were hearing other things like there's a 50-50 chance. And I didn't really know what to believe and I didn't know what to do. It was a gay white man's disease, so I didn't see other women, you know, having babies. I didn't see pregnant women. I saw moms burying their sons.
I just take a photo and it kind of just speaks for itself. One, 2, 3. Being able to share photography with my mother is really special. When I say I have HIV and AIDS vicariously through my mother, it's because me and my mom are so alike that when she feels pain, I share it. When she cries, I feel it. I've been public speaking about HIV and AIDS forever, and it's in my blood, per se. Yeah, I feel like I have it sometimes.
I started HIV meds when I became pregnant with Owen. They were pretty much able to guarantee that you wouldn't pass your virus on to your child. When they told me that, I knew it was the right decision to make. So I've got to get my blood work done, reorder my meds, and then up until that point, I was terrified of them because of side effects. And I'd literally seen people have such a bad quality of life because they were taking 60 pills a day. I knew I couldn't do that. Over the last 10 years, actually, I've been on medications. It's been a bit of a roller coaster because of some of the side effects. Like the first combination I went on, my bone marrow stopped making red blood cells, so I became severely anemic.
She was very tired all the time, and I would have to, get myself ready for school in the morning, making my own lunch and putting myself to sleep sometimes, and waking up in the middle of the night when my brother was born so she would be able to go back to sleep.
I felt a lot of guilt because of Rakiya having to grow up so fast.
The things people would say about HIV and Aboriginal people and, you know, the things that people would say about my mom. I was very confused.
The whole stigma of HIV is really the stigma of sexuality. You know, the stigma of difference, the stigma of socioeconomic status.
Other people have, you know, cancer in their family, and we just happen to have HIV, and it is what it is.
Tell me I'm not only chasing gold.
My biggest joy is my children.
Kiss me! My family. My mom and my brother.
Oh, I like that, actually. Looks very tribal. It looks like bones. Being a mom is most important. It makes me so happy.
I do think about my mom not being here. It's gonna be a struggle, and I don't look forward to it.
If we're able to treat HIV and make it chronic and suppress it, you will live out the remainder of your life.
The first date, the second date, the third date, the first time you're naked together, when do you tell somebody this secret?
Before anything happens between the two of us, if anything does even happen, if we're going in that direction, I just want to let you know something up front. I'm HIV positive. I put mine right up front. I see it easier. I see that it's like a broom. It sweeps out the bad dust, you know, because it's already out on the table. I don't have to get involved with someone and talk to them for a week, 2 weeks, start developing feelings, and be sitting at dinner and say, hey, by the way, I'm HIV positive. So a person's face can drop like this. It saves all of that when I just say it up front online.
Dating has become a struggle, and I noticed that with other people that I have found out they were positive, they were also having the same struggle. So the website company I work for, I presented the idea of Positively Frisky.
Austin came to us with the idea of creating a website for positive men.
An invite-only dating site for positive people. A safe, stigma-free place that they can all meet each other and feel safe knowing that everybody's on the same page.
So I understand how hard it can be trying to date and be honest all at the same time, but you're doing the right thing.
Dating is still as hard as it was before becoming positive. That really has not played a factor into it.
Why are you single?
It's simple issues like, okay, you're dating a person, you just don't dig what they're talking about. Or it might be, oh, this person just is too short, too fat, too small, too skinny.
My HIV positive boyfriend was one of the best things that has happened to me. My mom has always valued everything I do and every decision I've made. She doesn't judge me. She didn't have to tell me, you should be careful, because she knows I'm going to be careful. She was worried, as a mother would be. A lot of my friends didn't understand why I would put myself in that position.
A few of my close friends said things such as, it's not a matter of if you're going to get it, it's a matter of when, and said that I was stupid for being in this relationship.
I've educated myself on HIV and AIDS, and I just told them to educate themselves.
I have been in love before. Actually, I had a 3-year relationship. It was a great one. During the middle of that relationship, there was a breakup period between that 3 years that I actually contracted the virus, and we ended up getting back together shortly after that. It didn't fail due to my status or his status. It was actually normal problems that people go through. You know, and I still talk to this person to this day, so we still have a close relationship.
You should be able to be with who you want to be with and love who you want to love, regardless of, you know, their HIV status.
I have a lot of fear around the potential long-term side effects of the drugs on my body versus the effect that HIV is having on my body.
From what I understand, the longer he can prolong not being on them, the better his health will be in the long run.
My immune system goes up and then down, but generally I've been pretty healthy. I've been positive for 5 years now, and considering going on treatment.
What are your main fears? What is your main concern?
I feel like a lot of barriers, like taking the medication every day, and then fear around side effects. Lipodystrophy, which is the fat on the back, and the wasting in the face. I thought that a lot of the side effects from early drug treatments were part of having HIV and not a result of the the drug effects.
Most of the newer drugs don't tend to cause these effects. There are treatments that only involve taking one pill once a day.
Starting something when it's not absolutely 100% necessary, it feels like a little bit odd to do.
But you're not having any significant symptoms now. Doesn't really imply that it's not necessary. The fact that you have virus in your system replicating all the time is causing some degree of damage and inflammation. So you don't want to be sick and hurting when you have to start your HIV treatment, because then it's too late. Your immune system is already shut down. You're having what we call opportunistic infections or cancers that will make your treatment much more difficult. It's important to know that the more people get treated, the less the transmission of HIV.
That would be the biggest benefit, I think, for me personally, not having to worry about potentially passing it on if a condom broke or something.
If you're taking the treatments and the treatment keep your viral load or the amount of virus in your blood undetectable, that certainly decreases the chances.
Well, yeah. I mean, after talking to you today, I'm really leaning towards starting.
I've been dating my boyfriend Andrew for over a year now. Andrew is negative, and we plan on keeping it that way. I have people who are positive who just find out, and they're surprised that I'm dating somebody who's negative because they don't even think that's a possibility. Dating someone that's negative, you don't have unprotected sex, and that's about it.
I trust everything that has happened in my life valuable and crucial for the growth of my soul.
Today the world is filled with madness everywhere. I remember that day. I remember being crushed by information. My soul left that day, an empty, lifeless body just tossed along the way.
I rediscovered a place of pain today. I found hurt which was in her soul that lingers within me. I love you, Rakiya Larkin, warrior princess, super advocate, best friend, and mother.
Being positive doesn't make me want to stop living. Tonight, Andrew and I are taking the red eye to New York City with my friends Amy and Johnny Noir. I'm performing at one of the biggest events in NYC, Van Dam at Greenhouse. I do, of course, DJ and perform frequently in Phoenix, but it's important for me to bring what I do to a larger audience. Performing at Suzanne Barsh and Kenny Kenny's party as well, an experience of a lifetime. And that's all we have in the end, isn't it?
Give it up for Austin Head!
It's all hard. We just make different choices. Move as hard as you can. Go as far as you can, so you can soothe your soul.
It's something you're going to have to reconcile and deal with on a personal and emotional level, but you shouldn't let it define you as a person.
There are people out in this world that will help you, support you, and offer what you need.
For the last 20 years, we have been serving those who are infected and affected by HIV, primarily the minority community, Black and Hispanic men and women, regardless of sexual orientation.
YouthCo is an important resource because we do HIV education and we do it from a peer model. So we're all under 30 and we're delivering the sexual health information and HIV information to our peers. Initially, I came to YouthCo looking for support. I feel it's really important for positive youth to take leadership positions and speak about their experience to put a human face to HIV.
Find yourself a network of people who are like-minded, open-minded, supportive, people who can be mentors to you, who've gone through being diagnosed with HIV and now are maybe 10 years into it, living with a partner, living a very normal life, living a very healthy life.
If one youth listens to what I have to say and what my mother has to say, then I've done my job.
It's just a virus. It's not everything that's attached to it.
Worrying's not going to really help anything, so.
If you're someone who has been affected or infected with HIV, just realize that there's hope. Life is not over.
There's a lot of great people out there, a lot of really understanding, loving people and educated people, and just to keep that in mind.
We are all on this earth to do something. We are all here for a reason.
From a spiritual standpoint, I feel like I'm here to just share my joy with others, to share my ability to listen, to communicate, you know, to understand, to feel things. You know, that's my purpose.
We all have a limited time on the planet in the first place. And I think that if you live that way, you will have better experiences, because all you have in the end are your experiences.
You too can live a boring life eventually where you snuggle up with your partner on the couch watching films on a Friday night instead of partying like you did in your youth. There is a future.
You can live a long, happy, healthy life, just like my mother, with HIV.
There's no point of acting like life is over, because life is not over for me. You know, it's still beginning. I'm only 24, so there's no point of being down. There's no point of crying. Just live, laugh, and love.
Won't you let it go? Baby, don't worry, just let it go, let it go. Don't you worry, won't you let it go? Baby, don't worry, just let it go, let it go. Don't you worry, won't you let it go? Baby, don't worry, just let it go, let it go. Don't you worry, won't you let it go? Baby, don't worry, just let it go, let it go.
In the midst of me trying to edit this video, I get a phone call, and it was an interview for a job that I wanted. Yeah!